Let's take a look at Canon's two top-of-the-line wide-angle lenses, starting with the 14mm 2.8 prime and then the 16 to 35mm 2.8 zoom. Now, what are wide-angle lenses good for? Well, obviously wide panoramics, or getting that shot in a confined space you wouldn't ordinarily get with a regular lens. A very popular use for wide-angle lenses is with inside houses, making a room look larger, or just getting that inside shot that you can't get with a regular zoom. But what I love them for is getting a unique perspective shot, a shot that another lens just could not get. At first glance you have to wonder why anyone goes for the 14mm. It's the same aperture at 2.8. It's 14mm, which is only a little wider than the widest point of the 16 to 35 zoom, and it's about the same weight. The 16 to 35, on the other hand, has the versatility of being a zoom, so it goes all the way out to 35mm as well, and it's $800 cheaper than its prime friend. So let's take a closer look at the 14mm. It's Model 2. It was recently updated in 2007. It looks like a fisheye lens, but it is not. You can't screw a filter into the front, but you can screw one in the back. If I stick the lens back on and have a look at the back, you'll see where you can fit a filter down the back there. And what is great about this lens is its very short minimum focusing distance, less than 8 inches, which means you can get some very creative looking photos out of it. We put it on a body to take a look at how it looks on a body. As you can see, it's not a big lens. It's a reasonably easy lens to handle and not too heavy, not too cumbersome. It's a great little lens to have on any camera. Okay, now let's look at the zoom. The 16 to 35mm 2, because it's recently also been updated in 2007. It does take a filter on the front, however that filter size is an odd size. It's an 82mm filter, and those filters have to be of very high quality because this lens is very fussy about the filter that it takes. So be wary of putting a cheap filter on this lens. As you can see, the elements do move in and out a little when you focus. Nothing special about the back, just looks like any other f2.8 lens. Its focusing distance isn't quite as good as the prime lens at around 11 inches. If we take a look at it on a camera body, you can see it's a little larger. It's the same weight, but it's a little more cumbersome than the 14mm, but still a nice lens. Now let's take a look at how these lenses can distort some features in a photograph. Take a look at this photo of my motorcycle. Now if I zoom into 24mm and then finally into 16mm, you see how the mirror and some parts of the motorcycle become distorted. So look at that again, 35mm, 16mm. Still the same. This is why these lenses can make terrible portrait lenses. Not only because you have to get the lens so obnoxiously close to the subject, but it can distort the subject's face. If you look at my face here, my nose is a lot larger, and my face is a lot thinner than it normally is, making me look even more freakish than I normally am. Now if we take a look at the focal lengths, zoomed all the way in at 35mm, you'll see my gorilla. And then I zoom out to the 16mm, and then if I replace the lens with the 14mm, you see there is a noticeable difference between 14 and 16. If we look at that again with this photo, see it jumps out. 14mm is noticeably wider than the 16mm. And I guess that's why I prefer this 14mm to the 16-35. If I'm taking a wide angle lens with me, which I almost always do, I like it to be as wide as it possibly can be. You know, these are very similar lenses and you'd be happy either way, but if you've got the choice of either lens, I tend to go for the 14mm to make sure that I'm getting as wide as possible in my wide angle shots. So at the end of the day, the 16-35 is more versatile and is a lot cheaper. However, the 14mm is wider, can focus closer, and is smaller in size. So I tend to pick up the 14mm a lot more often than the 16-35 because given the choice, I want the widest possible angle on my wide-angle lens. So if I haven't already confused you enough as to which wide-angle lens is right for you, it's worth mentioning that there are two other Canon lenses, wide-angle Canon lenses, which are also both excellent. The 17-40mm f4, and for those of you with a crop sensor camera, the EFS 10-22mm. These are both lightweight, sharp lenses, but best of all, they're both under $1,000, so well worth considering if you're happy with a lower aperture lens. Anyway, thanks for watching, and as usual, if you have any questions, post them in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.